Well, yeah, the message a little bit this week was man, let's have fun playing this game. But I told the team in there today that the message now is man, there's got to be a sense of urgency. There's got to be a sense of urgency in everything that we do. We've got to get some things corrected, and there has to be a sense of urgency about doing that. And what we've done to this point has not been good enough. And so if we keep doing the same things and expect it to be different, that's the definition of insanity. So we've got to change the way we prepare. We've got to change the way we get ready to play a game. That's coaches, players, that's all of us. Because it hasn't been, up to the standard that we've had here.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody in the chat, no matter where you are, wherever you may be, whether you're at work, whether you're at the gym or riding in your car. Thank you so much for choosing the State of the Saints podcast. On this edition, we're going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints. Of course, we're going to be talking about the decision that Dennis James Allen has to make when it comes to the quarterback position. That press conference took place on yesterday, a day after the Saints crushing loss to a 2-7 team that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost to the Steelers 20-10. I'm not telling anybody that's a part of the Who Dat Nation something they don't already know. The Saints looked terrible. Total yards was terrible. Time of possession was terrible. Third down conversion rate was terrible. And both sides of the football were terrible. When you are a 3-7 team, there's nothing really too positive can go on, right? The Saints had 6 sacks in this game, but nobody cares, right? Because you're losing. Once again, the Saints are 3-7. And when a team is in desperation mode like the New Orleans Saints, that means that, some drastic changes need to be made. And Dennis Allen needs to make a choice. He can continue to roll with the red rifle known as Andy Dalton, or he can go with Jameis Winston. And that is the question on everyone's mind. What will Dennis Allen do? And Mike Triplett asked Dennis Allen this question in a press conference, and this is what he said.
At the quarterback, the decision you're going to make at quarterback this week, is it strictly performance-based, or is there a health?
Look, I think there's
have to be healthy enough to be.
Well, certainly, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I think probably have to visit with him a little bit in terms of that, or visit with the medical staff in terms of that. But and I think Jameis said this the other day. I don't know that he's ever going to be 100% healthy this season, but he's in here every day. He's in here every morning, working with the trainers, getting himself ready, and I feel like he's closer to being there.
Just to clarify, though, because you had kind of said, obviously he's healthy enough to play. He's active every game.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah.
report anymore. But you had made the decision to go with Andy while the offense was doing well.
And we haven't been doing as well in the last couple of weeks, and so I think we got to evaluate that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to evaluate it. Even though the New Orleans Saints offense were moving the football with Andy Dalton, I mean, it still hasn't generated much success. I mean, you can talk about, he threw the ball down the field, but what does it equate to, right? You can get down to the red zone, you still kicking field goals with Will Lutz, right? Or, you're moving the football, you might convert one time on third down, and then you're still punting. So the Saints have to do something. And, rather you like Jameis Winston or not, you have to believe that the Saints need to go in a different direction and maybe put him back in the starting lineup. Look, Jameis Winston, is a quarterback that can do some things. You know, he can make some throws. I'm really concerned mostly is with this offensive line, with this patch job they have. A guy that has 4 fractures in his back and dealing with a foot injury. That's definitely not ideal circumstances that you want to come back into. But we know that Jameis Winston is a warrior, and he's going to battle and work, and work hard to try to make sure that he does what he needs to do. Look, one thing I will say about Jameis Winston is he's not afraid to take a risk versus Andy Dalton, who just seems like he's just trying to do, something that's going to get him pushed into the lineup the following week. There's a lack of energy when it comes to the offense. It doesn't seem like guys really believe in the play calling. It seems like guys aren't believing in what's going to happen. And honestly, when you're watching a game time decision, shouts out to T-Bob A-Bear. I got to piggyback off him when he said this. When a game is on the line and you're throwing a 50-50 ball up to Kevin White, something is definitely wrong with the situation. The New Orleans Saints, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, to me, they're not going to make the playoffs. It's just as simple as that. Everybody expecting for the light to come on. Everybody expecting for the New Orleans Saints to go out here and maybe, be like one of those classic football movies where a team starts out bad and then the next thing they're making a magical run to the championship. I don't see that. But what you can do is try to build off something. Look, I'm one of those individuals that is thinking like, okay, you wanted Andy Dalton the entire time. You felt like Andy Dalton was the guy. The first line of success that y'all had, y'all was quick to try to thrust Andy Dalton into the lineup. I say keep rolling with him because I know what's going to happen at the end of the season if you continue to roll with him. Hell, I want to see it even if you don't roll with Andy Dalton, and that is firing Dennis Allen, because I don't feel like he's the answer. That's probably the most energy and most fire and most passion that I've seen him in any press conference or anything that he said, but it's too little too late. Like, nobody is buying what Dennis Allen is selling. He is a desperate man right now. He's fighting for his coaching life. He should be fighting for his coaching life. If he's not fighting for his coaching life, maybe we need to start looking at the front office a little bit more than what we're actually looking at him. But he's a guy right now that is desperate, and he is trying to do everything he can to stop the bleeding. Jameis Winston, you have to give him some credit, man, because Jameis Winston was willing to be quiet after Dennis Allen went to the press and basically said that Jameis was 100%, knowing that Jameis Winston wasn't 100%, and Jameis Winston didn't say anything about it. And also the false promises of Dennis Allen. Look, I understand this isn't like, a father who doesn't live with his son, or a mother who doesn't live with her son, and, you tell me you're going to take me to Disneyland and you don't show up. I know it's a business. It's a business. I understand that. It's a production-based business. If you're not producing, then most likely their job is going to be taken. But when you tell a guy who, was out there fighting and battling, and the main reason why he probably isn't performing at a high level, and you still choose to roll with somebody else and making it seem like it was just him and he was able-bodied enough to play and he was able to do all the things that he can do, and there was no ailments, that he was dealing with, and you still bench a guy, right? You still bench him, and you don't even give him a job back, but you like, oh yeah, man, we just gonna keep it warm for you, baby, until you get back. And then when it's time for him to come back, you don't give him a job. Look, I have no respect for that at all. And I feel like Jameis Winston had the right to defend himself. And now if you see, I think if I'm not mistaken, that was Mike Triplett talking to Dennis Allen. He had to concede and say that the guy isn't 100%. He had to, because Jameis came out there and said it. So you have a choice here. All right. You can continue to do the things that you've been doing with Andy Dalton, getting you absolutely nowhere. You can't use the excuse anymore that, oh, he's careful with the football, because he's not. He had 2 interceptions in the last game. He had 2 pick sixes against the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, so it's not like you're getting a bunch of production out of him. He only won one game as a starter, so it's not like you're getting a bunch of production out of Andy Dalton. So you no longer can use that. Jameis Winston should be the starting quarterback this Sunday versus the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know if the Saints are going to win this game, even if Jameis is playing tonight. But I just feel like you'll probably get a little bit more excitement. If we're going to lose, let's lose with some style, right? Let's lose with some excitement. The Saints are boring. Like the Saints are like watching golf on TV. You know what I'm saying? It's boring. Like there's no excitement. There's no offensive innovation. The defense looks slow. It's boring, right? Like at least if I'm gonna lose, at least let me see, you know what I'm saying, a pass down the field. Let me at least see, you know what I'm saying, a wide receiver be able to chase a pass down the field and maybe catch that thing, something. But you know, when you're looking at Andy Dalton, they're basically playing Andy Dalton the way they played Drew Brees. I went back and I watched that game, and I'm like, man, this is looking like Drew Brees towards the tail end of his career. You see a lot of these defenders sitting on routes because they know no ball is going over their heads. And unlike Drew Brees, you know, who can compensate for, you know, well, look, the defense sitting on his route, let me do this. He doesn't have that capability because he's not as good as Drew Brees is, right? So at least with Jameis Winston, you have the dynamic of throwing the ball down the field or spreading out the defense or making these guys think that there's a possibility that the ball can go over their heads. Something has got to give, right? You know what I'm saying? Like a big man on the roof, something has got to give. And, you know, I just don't like the direction that the Saints are going in right now. Dennis Allen looked too little too late, man. All that fire and desire. Look, the only fire and desire I recognize is Tina Marie and Rick James. That's the only thing. Like what you talking about right now is a bunch of false nonsense. It looks fake. It looks phony. It looks disingenuous. You're basically just a desperate man. You're a guy who spent all his money on Vegas and trying to find a way home by any means necessary. Nobody in the Who Dat Nation is buying this. Everybody wants this dude going, and hopefully the season gets us, you know, the offseason gets us a coach that actually knows how to coach and that can get the best out of the players while you have guys like Cam Jordan still producing. You got guys like DeMario Davis, because I'm looking at guys like this that who have been warriors in this organization for years. And, you know, I want to see these guys succeed. And if the Saints aren't going to do nothing, they're going to keep on, you know, messing with Dennis Allen and playing this game and doubling down on the foolishness. Man, let these dudes go to some other team that's going to win a championship. Like send Cam Jordan somewhere, like, you know what I'm saying, like to Philadelphia or send them to, you know what I'm saying, like one of these other teams that's a contender. You know, let him go play in Minnesota where his daddy used to play. Like, stop playing with these dudes and put these guys in positions to be a championship team. That's the only thing I ask for. You know, and don't try to play us as fans, try to make this dude look like he the second coming or he a true successor to Sean Payton, because clearly he is not. All right, so all that tough talk and all that bravado and all that nonsensical rhetoric that he talking about, trying to channel his inner Nuke Rodney, man, miss me with that. Okay, I don't believe you. I'm not buying what you're selling. Let's just go ahead and get to the end of the season. And hopefully, you know what I'm saying, on Black Monday, we get the news that we all want to hear, the Christmas gift, the tax gift, the gift that we all want, which is this clown out of the organization. It's just as simple as that. Last time I checked, the draft had 7 rounds, not 1. Look, I don't care about the first round pick like everybody else. I just don't. I don't care about it like that. All I care about is you drafting quality players. Now, I understand that when you're picking in the top 5, there's a strong chance and strong possibility that you might end up getting a sure thing. But that doesn't mean that there aren't guys that can come in the second round and the third round that can still produce. Michael Thomas was a second round pick. Alontae Taylor was a second round pick, right? You know, like you have guys that can fall to you in the second round. Drew Brees was a second round pick, even though he wasn't a second round pick for the Saints. Alvin Kamara was a third round pick. I mean, you find these guys. Marcus Williams was a second round pick. You can find quality talent in these later rounds. It doesn't have to be a first round pick. I just think that when people start talking about these first round picks, they're thinking about how stupid they may seem in the eyes of Philadelphia Eagles fans. But at the end of the day, I don't care about that. What I care about is this New Orleans Saints team. I don't care about what people think or what people perceive me as. I just want to see this team win for years to come. And you can still get quality talent in the second round. And not to mention, you have a guy who is on television right now, regardless of what he's trying to sell to everybody else, wants to come back to coaching. So there's a strong possibility that you might end up getting a first round pick in exchange for a guy like Sean Payton. I'm pretty sure that's probably what the Saints are thinking. That's probably what Sean Payton is willing to do. You know, the Saints probably have conversations with Sean Payton, probably see where he's going to go. Most likely he's probably going to end up with the Chargers. Of course, that won't be a top 10 pick, but hey, at least you probably get a pick in the first 15 rounds, and maybe you can get the quarterback, or maybe you can get the running back, or maybe get the receiver or the pass rusher that you need in order to elevate yourself. Whatever is going on, it can be fixed, right? The only feeling that we have right now, and the only reason why we're so mad is the fact that Philadelphia, they lost their first game on Monday night. They got a guy that used to play for the Saints leading the league in interceptions, which was a terrible decision. And not to mention this decision of trading, the first round draft pick to the Saints, and the Saints giving their first round pick this coming year to them is looking real bad right now. And I get it, right? But that's the gamble. That's the breaks. If the Saints would end up going to the Super Bowl, nobody would have cared, right? Because we got Chris Olave in the process, or even if the Saints went to the playoffs, nobody would care. We wouldn't have cared. So the only reason why this looked like the worst decision ever is because the Saints suck. But if you think about it, I mean, where would the Saints have been if they didn't make this decision? They got Chris Olave because of this decision. Anybody wants to defend that? Anybody wants to say, man, that wasn't a good idea getting Chris Olave? Can you imagine what this wide receiver group would look like if they didn't have Chris Olave with Andy Dalton as the quarterback? And let's not get it twisted. Like, Chris Olave can do way more than what he's actually doing right now. He isn't even taking the top off the defense like he normally can. So imagine, like, if, let's just say, for example, if Jameis has that dynamic he was actually playing. I think Chris Olave has nearly 700 yards of receiving. He'd probably have close to 1,000. He probably would be like among some of the best wide receivers in the league, including more touchdowns than he has right now. So I don't think anybody is upset that the Saints got Chris Olave in the process. It's just the way it looks right now, because all the things that happened this season is making the decisions look extremely bad. But if the Saints were better than what they were, and if Dennis Allen actually could coach, nobody would care. Dennis Allen enter Herman Boone. Thank you very much for the $2. Says it's not easy to find. Yeah, it's definitely not easy to find. I mean, Herman Boone definitely was a great coach, coaching T.C. Williams. And definitely would love to have somebody like that, on the sidelines. But clearly, he's no Herman Boone, and he's definitely no Coach Yost. I can tell you that right now. Seems like Dennis knows he is a placeholder. Look, I don't know if he knows he's a placeholder or not. And honestly, if he feels this way, then we definitely don't have the right guy in place as a head coach. If you feel like you're a placeholder, then man, you're doing the organization a disservice, and you're doing yourself a disservice. You might as well just go ahead and step to the podium and step down. Right? I will hope that you don't feel like a placeholder, but the way that he's coaching his team, the way that he's looking, the way that he's getting outclassed by the competition, I mean, he's definitely looking like a placeholder. He doesn't have to say it. We already see it. Let's see. He's coaching for his job and is making him look worse and worse. Well, look, every coach is coaching for their job, to be honest with you. This is a production-based business. We all know that, right? The more that you win, the stronger possibility that you're going to keep your job. If you lose game after game, there's a strong possibility you're going to lose your job. So Dennis Allen understands the assignment. At least he should. Like, he's fighting for his coaching life. And I mean, the way that the team is going right now, there's very little support for him. Probably the only people that's really supporting him is probably his family. Their last name have to be Allen, because, and probably some contrarian somewhere that's trying to find reasons, to defend him. People coming to me saying, man, you can't put this all on him. We need to give him one more year. Nah, you give him one more year. I choose not to. There's nothing I feel like that Dennis Allen is going to do in 2023 that he couldn't have done in 2022. Like, if we're talking about injuries, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Look, I understand that, injuries happen in the NFL. It happens every year, right? Cooper Kupp has been put on IR. Like, Cooper Kupp to me is the best wide receiver in football. Look, I understand, like, people when we talk about Justin Jefferson and that catch and all that kind of stuff, but Cooper Kupp to me is, is the best wide receiver in football. The only reason I feel like he ain't in the conversation is because he a white boy doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being real. Cooper Kupp is a guy that is a great route runner, great pass catcher, take the top off the defense. Nobody really talks about this dude. And not to mention, kind of like with Michael Thomas, everybody know he getting the ball and you still can't stop him. But he's going to be put on IR. This is a production-based business, right? If the team was injured, injured and you were having injury issues, but the team was formidable, I don't think anybody would be upset. Like if the Saints were losing like they lost in Minnesota against Minnesota and London every single week, like close, but we doing it. We will understand more. Oh man, it's just the injuries, or we're dealing with these injuries. That's what's going on, and we probably would like, okay, man, we'll do better next year. But when you're going out there and you're playing against teams and you're just getting outclassed, and these teams are missing just as many important players as you are, and they still slapping you around. Like Pittsburgh is a terrible football team. I don't know if y'all looked at the stats or the analytics. They stink. Every statistical category they needed to improve in, they improved against the Saints. They didn't have a 20-yard rush all season. They got it against the Saints. I mean, a high completion percentage for Kenny Pickett. He didn't have any this entire season. He had it against the Saints. They were talking about, the running back position and, some of the things that they were doing with Najee Harris, and he needed to step up and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, he looking like Derrick Henry out there. Like, if you're a team and you're having struggles offensively, defensively, special teams, just play the Saints. And at least you might go back to reality the following week, depends on who you play. But for 1 week, you're going to feel like a champion. That's the way the Saints making these teams look. So how can you justify that? How can you justify what you're seeing on the field? Like, how can you even fix your mouth to say that this dude deserves another year? Like, this is embarrassing. If this was the Apollo, the clown would have yanked him by now. Yeah, Sandman Sims would have been out. Let's see. Levon Strong, I'm confused. What are you saying? Come on to CD was traded in August. It really sucks, though, because my name is Dallas Allen, and I got to share the same last name and initials as this clown. Well, look, I mean, look, that's not a reflection on you. The last name has to be Allen. You a fool. The Raunchy rifle and Mr. 40 for 40. Tough choice. Well, I don't know who it is, but man, it's something got to give. Something's got to give. So imagine how I feel every Sunday or every press interview he shows up on. Strong side, left side. Hi, Coach Boone. I think you, unfortunately, wouldn't be able to do that because if I'm not mistaken, I think Coach Herman Boone passed away a couple of years back. But so many want to put all of the Saints' woes on Winston, don't they? I hope not. I mean, look, Jameis Winston hasn't played in quite some time. What, last time he played, week 3, right? So, I mean, he hasn't played in 7 weeks. So anybody that's blaming him for that, I don't know. I mean, you got some people out here, man, they just – I was listening to WWL yesterday, and they had this guy that called in, and he was like, he'd rather have a guy who has scratches on his face, be the quarterback than a guy who looks and smiles on the sidelines like Aaron Brooks. Now, I just wondered to myself, like, I think these are the type of people that people are talking about when it comes to Jameis Winston. I feel like I had to listen to that like 3 or 4 more times to see what I was actually hearing. But for, what I'm saying, you have people out here that feel that way, they feel this way towards this dude, and they rather watch Andy Dalton, go out there and play than to put this dude in. People need to relinquish those biases that they have. Not everybody. And of course, if you don't fall in that category, then I'm not talking about you. I've never seen anybody get mad about something that they have absolutely nothing to do with. So anybody that's feeling a certain type of way right now, maybe you need to check yourself. Winston hasn't been blamed since week 3. Ain't nobody blaming dude now. It's on Andy and Allen. Yeah, definitely. Definitely on Andy and definitely on Coach Dennis Allen. My dog, okay, that trade don't have anything to do with Olave. Like, at all. We traded CD for a fourth in a 2023. Yeah, that didn't have nothing to do with Chris Olave, right? You basically just gave this dude away for peanuts, and now this guy's leading the league in interceptions. And, you know what I'm saying, he's probably first in the league in heart, too, because the energy is different. You know, the way that this dude fly around the field is different. And I just think, like, I think those were two big mistakes. I think the Saints made two big mistakes. Number one, they made a mistake not paying Marcus Williams. And number two, they made a mistake with getting rid of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Those are two guys that you should have paid. Those are two guys you should have paid. I would have let Davenport walk. I would have let, and honestly, the way he's playing right now, I probably would have let Anyamata walk. But I would have kept these two guys right there because at least, like you could have, got some other guys, in an interior line, maybe through the draft or maybe in the all season. But those are two guys I would have paid. I would have paid to stay on this team. But the Saints historically just don't pay safeties. But here's the thing. Sean Payton's New Orleans Saints don't pay safeties. I just think that the practices that the Saints do going forward don't need to be like WWSD. What would Sean do? It needs to be a new regime. It needs to be a new philosophy. It needs to be a new way of thinking because you cannot continue to go down this path, right? I just think that the Saints need to move on from Sean Payton and Drew Brees. They need to. Like, everybody's still trying to hold on to the days of yesteryear. If you bring a quarterback in or if you're trying to roll with Jameis Winston in the future, you need to go ahead and absolve yourself and completely just, wipe your hands with the Sean Payton, Drew Brees experience. It's over, man. Neither one of those guys are coming back, in my opinion. I don't think Sean Payton is coming back ever. And Drew Brees isn't coming back ever. So why are we still trying to hold on to what was? It was great. It was a great feeling. It was a great ride. But the quarterbacks that come in aren't going to be Drew Brees. And the coaches that come in aren't going to be Sean Payton. So stop trying to build your team in the image of a Sean Payton and Drew Brees because they're not here anymore. You need to focus on the things that can make you be successful going forward. And that includes getting a new head coach that's offensively innovative and a guy that can, push these guys to the full potential. And maybe, I don't know, heck, get these guys that's been on this team, that's been warriors for your team, opportunity to play for a championship. Because it might end up being too late. Like, I just feel like this team is just badly coached. If you take these players and you give them a coach that can coach, there's no way in the world that the New Orleans Saints would be in this position that they're in right now. But we do have a special guest with us here on the State of the Saints podcast. Pretty sure everybody knows her. You can check out on 104.5 ESPN. She also contributes to the Saints Wire. And I'm pretty sure she's a very proud Tulane Green Wave alum. I'm talking about Maddie Hudak. Maddie, what's going on?
I'm good. I did actually lose my voice, as said. Happy Green Wave fan, even though we lost this weekend. I still like the fight, and my voice went along with it. So.
Well, Maddie, thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. But let's get started. I mean, this is a magical run for your Tulane Green Waves. I mean, being from New Orleans, I can remember that magical run back in '98 when Sean King was the quarterback and they went undefeated. But how proud are you of your Green Waves and how they've been fighting in the AAC this year?
Like I said, I think I was almost the most proud of them on Saturday night because that was really the first time I've seen them be down an entire game and really not lose their mentality or lose their own way and really play until that final snap. That to me was very reassuring after kind of watching them get shook a little bit during that Southern Miss loss, but just to be there every day of last season and see how miserable it really was when you have 2 wins on the year, and one of those was in week 11. It's really hard to kind of get a team going. So the fact that they were able to turn this around in this short of a time, I mean, everyone's really stressed out now because you kind of have to win out for those big goals to still happen. But the fact that they're even in the conversation has just been, it's been really great to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an awesome thing to watch. Like I said, I grew up in New Orleans. I mean, I can remember going to Tulane Green Wave games and I mean, it was always special every time, to watch them. And I mean, you look at the state of Louisiana, I mean, you got the Green Wave rolling, got the LSU Tigers on their way to the SEC championship. But for some apparent reason, the Saints didn't get the memo and they don't understand the assignment this season, Maddie. But let's go ahead and talk about the New Orleans Saints. They're 3-7 right now. I mean, the morale of the Who Dat Nation is kind of low. Head coach Dennis Allen has a tough decision to make about where he wants to go with the quarterback position going forward. Maddie, what are your thoughts on this Saints team, watching them, go to Pittsburgh and not put forward a really good performance, and just the overall thoughts of the 3-7 start for the black and gold?
Yeah, I think it's hard to kind of evaluate Sunday's game on its face at this point when you're looking at the number of injuries this team has suffered to the personnel in which it has, including quarterback. But when half your line goes down in one game, Pete Werner, who to me has been the best player on the team, arguably the entire season, half the secondary's out. But we saw the depth players play a lot, more up to, I think, what was considered the Saints standard in the offseason. And I get it's not the same as going full speed at practice, but I think that was kind of the surprise and myself included, training camp was reported on very positively. I think that maybe the not the rose-colored glasses, but just it was a little, I think, perhaps naively positive about the state of quarterback, just when you look historically at replacing a franchise quarterback in general. But someone like Drew Brees, who I think you really saw in those critical moments where it just seems like they're missing that confidence that they're going to be able to drive down the field in 2 minutes kind of thing.
Right.
I think a lot of that goes back to Sean Payton as well. And I just think I studied kind of teams that move on from their franchise quarterbacks and those who do it sooner rather than later. But to lose your arguably one of the best head coaches of all time in a 1-2 fell swoop like that, I think records should be a little less surprising than it feels. And I think that's just the ways in which the Saints have lost games where the Cincinnati Bengals win was super in their sights. And that was a team that was in the Super Bowl last year. And then there's been some really bad losses, but you've seen flashes of this team. And I think had it gone a little differently in the ways that they lost the games, we'd be talking about it differently. But it just has been bad football and not fun to watch, I'm sure, as a fan or as an analyst.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody had high expectations for this team. I mean, you start thinking about what this team looked like on paper. That's one of the main reasons why they play the game, because I always use this as an example. It's not like playing Madden. Like if you put these players on Madden and you simulate the season, you probably have a good record, but you have to play between those lines. The Saints started the season with Jameis Winston as their starting quarterback, and all the reports came out. He had the fractures in his back. He had an ankle injury heading into the season. And now, he had a sit-down interview with Mike Triplett. He talked about him not being 100%. And, the fact that Dennis Allen, when he made the quarterback change, said that he was 100%. But now, I mean, this is a tough decision. I mean, do the Saints, in your opinion, Maddie, need to go back to Jameis Winston in this game versus the Los Angeles Rams?
It's Aaron Donald. And that's something that I'm just going to kind of keep saying is whichever quarterback you're putting back there with the injuries that they have at the O-line, to me, if I'm Jameis Winston at this point, quite honestly, just to go candid, I'm probably looking at a different team next season just based on the way things have gone for him. He's probably looking for a fresh start somewhere. And, does it make it worse at this point if he comes back and the team cannot get anything generating and he gets hurt worse as a result? I know that's a bunch of ifs, but it just feels like it's so late now, and yet there's still so much football to go. I guess I'm still getting my head wrapped around this added game, which has seemed to completely throw off my mental timeline of NFL football these last 2 seasons. But it's just, I feel for Jameis Winston, and I think it's just been just the way it's gone down, a lot of bad luck. I don't, that comment seemed slightly unnecessary about him being fully unhealthy or fully healthy, given that he's clearly not. And that was something that I had really gone into after, I believe, the Buccaneers game. It was after the information came out about his, I believe it was right before the Tampa game when that information about his back came out. And then I was never the biggest Jameis Winston fan last year, but it just clear to me that like nothing's really the answer, and I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg at this point in terms of like the system, the quarterback, like what it is. But I saw him be able to execute throws last year that he's clearly more than physically capable of doing. Right. And when Jameis Winston is the one that's severely underthrowing deep balls, that's when it stuck out to me that this isn't his decision making coming back. He doesn't look like he's well. And I had gone a little in depth into his back fractures, thinking that they had more to do with his lower body mechanics perhaps than they did. But I also think we didn't know as much about his ankle at the time. But his footwork looked off to me, and he just looked stiff and in pain. And it's the Baker Mayfield effect where you play hurt and everyone's evaluating you for the play that you have on the field, not with context, unfortunately, half the time. And the same thing goes for a lot of players on the field. But like you think of how the perception was of Michael Thomas in 2020 when he came back against the Buccaneers. He was not in a condition clearly to be starting that game, but I get why that all happened. But we forget that context when we're looking at the evaluations of them. So I think it was good for him to sit when he did, and I understand that it's hard to sit back and, it wasn't so much the play of Dalton as much it was just the state of the offense just seemed to be generating a little better. But now that things have fallen apart that way, I guess it's just kind of up to Jameis Winston. I wouldn't blame him for just wanting to get that final shot that he really hasn't gotten the opportunity to for both seasons now due to injuries, but it is Aaron Donald. So I just am genuinely concerned about, honestly, whichever quarterback is back there with the potential injuries. If Eric McCoy, James Hurst, and was it Andres Pete?
Andres Pete, yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole left side of the line just gone, including the center, who to me is one of the most important positions on the field. And it looks like they're not moving. They might move Cesar Ruiz back over there, but that didn't really work last year. There's just so much going on, all that to say.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually at the week 1 game when they played Atlanta, and I remember when he went into the injury tent, and I seen Andy Dalton, warming up on the sidelines. And, in a way, I feel bad for Jameis because let's just say, for example, if he would have not played in the game the next week versus Tampa, in the back of our mind, we'll still have that 14 touchdown, 3 interception, and he just led the Saints to a 4-quarter comeback. So, but he ended up playing in that game and wasn't able to do the things that he needed to do due to injury, and now that is on his resume. And I can kind of understand it in a grand scope of things, because here's the thing. I think he knew what was going to happen, and it ended up happening, which is, if I sit down and Andy comes in and he plays well, then I'm not going to get my job back. I think he knew that, and he went out there and he gave it the whole shot because he knew that there was going to be a chance he'd never get his job back. And now we find ourselves in the same position. I do feel like he deserves a fair shake. Probably not this game versus the Rams, because, if you have problems in your interior on the offensive line, it's not, like you said, ideal to go up against arguably the greatest interior lineman probably in the NFL history, definitely in the modern era, in Aaron Donald. So, but my last question for you it involves head coach Dennis Allen. A lot of negativity when it comes to Dennis Allen, when coming from the fans. Got a petition that's circling around wanting him to lose his job. Do you think Dennis Allen will survive another season, survive this season and go into 2023 as the head coach? Do you look at him on a Stan Van Gundy tip, which is a one and done coach?
Yeah. It's hard to say that things have gone well for him. In terms of what I think will happen, I really don't know, just because, to be quite honest, in my lifetime of following football, it's pretty much been Sean Payton as the head coach of the Saints. And, I know people can talk about how they operated in the past, but this is really kind of uncharted territory for, I think, the front office as it stands now. And I do have to just consider the context that I think had some moves not been made this offseason that signified, I think, almost a misplaced arrogance, for lack of a better term, in the state of this team, then I think a lot of us, myself included, would be evaluating it right now very different, because the reality is again, you move on from one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and to go back to your point about quarterbacks not wanting to play when they're or not wanting their backup to take their job. I mean, that happened to Drew Brees. And then, I mean, he got to the point where he's Drew Brees and that's not going to happen to him. But I think most quarterbacks that aren't Drew Brees know that they aren't in that category quite yet of I can break my finger because of Aaron Donald and come back with no issue. But having to follow up the shoes of Sean Payton, I just think that was really undersold as something that's easier said than done, because when you look at everything that went wrong for the Saints last year and his ability to manage chaos, I think that's such a rare trait in head coaches in general. But I think it was just kind of the way that everything, and I understand why you do that, because you want to come out and say we're in a rebuild or whatever. But, I think trading away next year's first round draft pick, I'd be curious as to what their true evaluation was of the quarterback role when they made that decision, because it's hard for me not to say that they weren't confident in Jameis Winston just based on the fact that they went very hard for Deshaun Watson when he was available. And then this has kind of unfolded this way. So to me, I'm just curious, is that something that crossed the team's mind when they were trading that away? Are we trading away our chance at a future franchise quarterback with this? It's hard not to say that paid off in the way that the draft went down, but when that pick is looking like it's going to be a top 5 pick, and this is a really deep quarterback class, and you get some time, I think, with a rookie quarterback that you don't get with someone that's more ready to go into the situation like Jameis Winston or Jimmy Garoppolo, or really anyone that's not just a fresh rookie that the Saints haven't had a precedent in decades of developing at all. So I think that, and then trading CJ Gardner-Johnson away right before the season started for really no capital and no clear plan. And then you look at the injuries that have happened there. I like Chris Harris Jr., but that should not be the contingency plan for, third string, because I get Bradley Roby was starting there, but was he really the best choice at that role? Or are we just kind of filling a slot here? So I just feel like that got a little hasty. And then to only win 3 games through the season, I don't really care about the interceptions thing, because I just depends on scheme and the fact that CJ is where he is.
Right.
The fact that they traded him away to an undefeated team that they didn't really get anything back from, that already has their first round draft pick. I just think it's a case of like really bad perception that it wouldn't surprise me either way. I think he more likely than not gets a shot in terms of public perception. I think just kind of owning up to what the real evaluation was of this team last offseason at some point will be very insightful. Yeah.
I mean, I think about it hindsight is 2020. Like, I think back in 2018, right? The Saints, they traded their first round pick the following year to Green Bay to move up to get Marcus Davenport. And Sean Payton's response was, well, if we're playing in the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship game, who cares? And I think that year, they went to the playoffs. So nobody cared. So it's like, okay, they're bad. So the first round draft pick just looks bad right now because they're a terrible team. That's the reason why everybody cares. So hindsight is 2020, but I do agree with you. There was some arrogant moves there. And, I think that even us as Saints fans, we have to sit back and reflect on, the importance of great coaching and great quarterback play. Because sometimes like you just mentioned, most of what you see is Sean Payton and Drew Brees throughout your lifetime, right? So great quarterback, great coach, and you might end up taking that for granted. And I think it is one of those cases where the Saints made some of these decisions because they felt like it was more organization and not player coach. And now we're starting to realize that was the case, that you had a very special coach and a very special quarterback throughout the years to make us feel the way that we're feeling right now. But Maddie, I'm going to go ahead and let you rest your voice. But thank you so much for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast. Before you go, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. I've kind of been dark with the Saints with all this Tulane stuff, so it's nice to kind of get some discussion going on. But you can find me on Twitter at Maddie Hudak _94. I think it's in there, and you can find me at Yeoman Stadium on Thursday yelling at you if you're in the stands to make some crowd noise on 3rd and 4th down. So radio for that, Twitter for pretty much everything else. But thanks for having me, TJ. This was great.
No problem, Maddie. You take care, and thank you so much for your time.
Great, thanks.
All right. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Maddie Hudak, shouts out to her, man. Does great work. Very passionate about the team, man. And, she lost her voice, and she still was nice enough to come on and give us a few minutes of her time. So shouts out to Maddie, and good luck with everything that she's doing. Let me read some of your comments, and we'll go from there. Let's see. The landlord says, do a show with me tonight about the Montreal screw job. Tonight, Josh, I won't be able to do it, and I'll tell you why. My wife is at work, and I have to do something with Paxton tonight. You know, like I have to do something with him. It's going to take a few hours to do, so I'll be pretty occupied with him. I'm actually been working with him. He does soccer, right? He does soccer at his school, and they give us these homework assignments to do, right? They give us these homework assignments to do for him to work on for his next class, which is going to be on Friday. And then also I just have some stuff I have to do that's work related. That I took on a new position, so there's some things that I have to do that are extremely important that have deadlines. So that's what my night is going to be consistent of, and hopefully, I'll be able to get all that done. But if you can come up with another time, I'll be glad to come on, on the show and talk to you a little bit about something else, another topic that you may have. But I appreciate the invite, and try to see if I can get with you when I actually have some time to be able to do some things. So I'm sorry about that, man, but definitely want to get on your show. The whole team should do a sit down until DA is fired. Look, these guys are professionals at the end of the day. These guys get paid to play the game, so I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be realistic. I mean, the way they playing, they might as well go sit down. But yeah. Hudak Kings and Queens fire DA. You know what? I wouldn't be mad at a slick boycott. Look, if we're gonna boycott, I think we should boycott as a fan. I think we should boycott as fans. I don't think that we should. I don't think that we should buy stuff. I don't think that we should attend these games. I think that we should let them hear that, because there's this old saying, we done came too far to turn around. So I think that we as Saints fans, we've been there. You know what I'm saying? We put the bags on our head. That's why shouts out to Chosen and Keen Arthur talking about making a song called Return of the Bags. Man, we ain't trying to do that. We didn't put the bags on. We didn't took them things off. You know what I'm saying? People can see our face now. And we're yelling and we're loud and we're proud. We're like Maddie Hudak on a Thursday night at Loomis Stadium. We're losing our voices because we're excited about our team. We don't want to go down there anymore. But sometimes you got to teach people how to treat you. So I just say, man, if you want people to learn how things need to go, I think that we need to show them. Boycott DA. I'm definitely down with that. Is it bag time? Is it bag time? I just mentioned that. No, it ain't bag time. Absolutely not. What Bishop Bowen?
Hell no. To the no. Hell to the no.
I ain't putting no bag on. I'm not. I don't care how bad it gets. I don't care if the Saints. I don't care if the Saints go 0-17 next year. I'm still ain't putting no bag on my head. I'm still gonna be repping this team, because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Being a true fan. Like, anybody can grandstand, anybody can front run, but what's gonna happen when I'm down? What's gonna happen when I'm in the mud? Who's gonna be in the mud with me? That's all I'm saying. That's true fandom right there. Okay. And honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm kind of glad. I'm happy, because in these dark times in the Hudak Nation, you're finding out who the real Saints fans are. You're finding out who the real Saints fans are. You're talking about the real fans that's going to support this team through the thick and the thin. Those are the fans that I'm trying to roll with. All right. I ain't trying to grandstand for nobody. Okay. It's bad times right now. We're going to talk about it. We're going to chop it up. We're going to get our little laughs in. We're going to make little parodies. We're going to make little comedies. We're going to have a good time. But at the same time, it's still Hudak, and I don't care what the record entails. And it's going to take more than a coach and some bad football play for me to turn around and not root for this team. It's Hudak all day. It's still Hudak all day, all night. I get it. It's dark times, but it ain't always going to be easy, ladies and gentlemen. TJ, this is just my opinion. There's always a period of time when a team is dominant, then fall, then make a new room for new players and new teams. Just like the Roman Empire fell, everything can. Yeah, that's a good point, Ramsey. That's a good point. You're looking at it with the New England Patriots, right? For, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, man, they dominated that division for almost 20 years. And now you know, they in the basement, right? You know, like it just happens. You know, you have teams that, you know, that were dominant, the Indianapolis Colts, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Peyton Manning's Indianapolis Colts won 11 straight AFC South championships. That's insane, right? And now you look at them, man, they pulling out Jeff Saturday off ESPN to be their coach, which he won his first game, by the way. But but that's just the way that it goes. I definitely agree with you. You know, you're not going to be on top all the time. It's not all the time that you're going to, leave a Brett Favre and then get an Aaron Rodgers, right? Or you leave a Joe Montana and get a Steve Young. It's very rare that you have a team that passed the baton to a guy that's a successor and they just take off he exceeds expectations. It's very rare that happens. And right now, you know, we're just kind of going through it. And not to say that this is going to be a continuing occurrence, but it will be a continuing occurrence if the Saints don't learn from the mistakes that they're making in 2022. I'm willing to accept this. Like, if the Saints are not a playoff team, I'm willing to accept that right now. But I'm not going to keep on accepting it 2 and 3 years down the line. Right now, you're going through a transition. We understand that, right? As hard as it is, as frustrating as it is to deal with these things that we're dealing with, I can understand that because we're going through a transition. But when we're talking about 3-4 years down the line and we still getting slapped around in the basement in the NFC South, that's something that I will not be able to accept. So they're going to have to figure this joint out. That's why the Saints might need to move up for him. I don't know what we're talking about here. Laughing. Boycotting after one season. Guys, come on. That shows how spoiled we got from the Peyton Breeze era. You get good years and bad years. This is a bad year. All we can do is wait and see moving forward. Look, Saints know that this has nothing to do with being spoiled. This has everything to do with the fact that we have an incompetent coach. Look, I'm not spoiled. I'm not spoiled as a Saints fan because I'm going to tell you why. Do I want to see the Saints win? Yes, but I've seen the Saints when they stunk, when they sucked. This has everything to do with we know what it takes we know what winning looks like. And you ain't winning nothing. Like, I ain't the only one saying this. You go to every talking head that's behind the mic, that's talking on television, that covers the New Orleans Saints, they saying the same thing. This is not it when it comes to Dennis Allen. If the Saints get another coach, and let's just say that he's not as good, I'll be willing to give him a chance. The reality is Dennis Allen has been a head coach before. Dennis Allen has not panned out in Oakland, and you have a better organizational structure with the New Orleans Saints, and you still looking the same way. What am I supposed to do with that? Right? If you cheated in your first relationship and you cheated in your next relationship, what am I supposed to believe? That you just the upstanding citizen, you're going to be loyal and dependable? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm willing to give you another opportunity. Like, everybody make mistakes. You're young, you're stupid, whatever. Right? But what happens now? Like, we are basically showing me that you are the same guy. Right? It's almost like that Spider-Man meme when you pointing at another Spider-Man. Like, you are who you are. So why are we sitting up here wasting our time? This has absolutely nothing to do with being spoiled. Now, you do have some people that's talking about with the quarterback decision and the team decisions, they are spoiled because, and it's not their fault. I mean, you only know what you know. If you're young, you're 25, you're 26 years old, or you're probably close to 30, all you know is prosperity when it comes for the Saints. When it comes to the Saints for the most part. But what happens like when you ain't used to that? All I'm saying is, look, I ain't talking about I'm talking about like getting this dude off the sidelines. I feel like this is the best decision if the Saints want to go anywhere. Because regardless, if you go and get a new quarterback, you're going to have to get a coach that's going to be able to coach that great quarterback the way that he needs to be coached. If the Saints was to draft a quarterback right now, no matter who it is, it can be Hendon Hooker, it can be CJ Stroud, it can be Bryce Young, it can be Grayson McCall, it can be, you know what I'm saying, any one of those dudes. It'd be any one of those dudes. Who on the Saints roster right now do you have confidence in as a coach that will be able to get the best out of that player right now? Do you have confidence in Pete Carmichael? Do you have confidence in Ronald Curry? Do you have confidence in any one of those guys to be able to coach this dude up to be able to be a winner and give you a winning product? Absolutely not. So I feel like regardless to where you go with the quarterback position, you need somebody that's going to be able to coach it out of them. There's a reason why the New York Giants went out here and got Brian Daboll. They got Brian Daboll because they had Daniel Jones. And if you look at Daniel Jones now, Daniel Jones is playing really well. He went from being a turnover machine to being one of the least, turnover prone quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He's at 1% right now. So you need that type of coach to be able to get that out of those guys. And that's why I feel like you need to go in a different direction. Regardless to what you decide to do, you still need a guy that's going to be able to help that quarterback and help that offense see the field. And P. Carmichael ain't it, and neither is Dennis Allen. Mickey got to blow it up. Somebody got to act now. I agree. Somebody got to do something right now, because if not, if you double down on it, we're going to be in the same position. Who that forever like Wakanda? You ain't lying. Play Jameis. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, folks. Stroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to Yella. Yella says, it's y'all, the ones that become fans around 2008, 2009, the ones that are delusional right now. I'm passionate about what I'm saying because I know better. I know this team is better than this. Of course, that's the reason why I want this dude out the door. I don't care what the Saints are going through. If you have a better coach, they're not going to be 3-7. The Saints are going to crush the Rams, though. I don't believe that. I don't believe Dennis Allen is it either. Believe me. I'm just saying people shouldn't jump ship just because of this bad experience. I get where you're coming from, TJ. Not jumping ship, Saints Nola. Like, I agree with you. Nobody should be jumping ship. But once again, you have to teach people how to treat you. Seriously. We believed in this team. Here it is, Saints Nola. Let's go back. Let's rewind a little bit. Let's rewind back to the beginning of the season, when they wanted us to buy into Dennis Allen, when they wanted us to buy into them making that trade to the Philadelphia Eagles, when they wanted us to buy into the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade, when they wanted us to believe that they had, the offense coordinator and P. Carmichael and the right, guys on the coaching staff. They made us buy into that, right? They sold us on that, and we bought it hook, line, and sinker. But now it's time it's harvest time. You know what I'm saying? It's time to pony up. And right now they have not. So what are we supposed to do with that, man? Continue down the same path? Absolutely not. Like, I agree with you. Jumping ship ain't the answer. But showing somebody like how to treat you is. And right now, this team, this organization I feel like they lied to us. Because they felt we wanted to believe that they had things under control, but obviously not on this day, November 15th of 2022. It's pretty obvious that they don't have it under control. So what are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? I can't just sit up here and just not allow them to take accountability for the ineptitude. And neither should you, Saints Lola. But I definitely agree with you. People shouldn't be jumping ship, but we definitely should let our voices be heard. It's do the contrarian. I don't know what we're talking about here. I don't know who we're talking about. I grew up watching Drew Brees. I'm 25, TJ. I'm ready for the dark days. I am. Yeah, if you like in your 20s, man, all you know is Drew Brees. You don't really know too much of anything. And I can understand. Like, I really feel this way. I really strongly feel this way. I feel like people like that's around Ramsey's age, y'all probably taking it harder than people that's my age. For the new listeners and viewers, I'm 36. Right. I'm saying? I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 86. Right. So I can remember the dark ages of the 90s, and you knew the Saints weren't going to win nothing. Right. So when I look at that compared to where they are now, I mean, I'm like, man, when people say, man, it can't get no worse than this. Yes, it can. Because I seen it firsthand. So I do believe that more modern day Saints fans are probably taking this harder because they don't have anything that they can kind of relate to, like versus us who are probably in our 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s who are probably watching this right now are probably like, man, well, I remember when we knew they weren't going to win nothing. Like, this ain't nothing to us. So, yeah, I do think that people in their 20s and early 30s are taking it harder than us, late 30, early 40 folks. And the thing is about it, is even if we got a rookie quarterback, I feel sorry for him because a rookie best friend is a defense and a run game. Guess what? Ours both suck. Yeah, that's the reason why I feel like you have to get an offensive-minded coach. that's going to help that young quarterback see the field, and you need yourself a really good defensive coordinator. I'm calling up Mike Zimmer. I'm calling up Vic Fangio. I'm calling up one of them old school, old guard type defensive coordinators, and I'm going to give myself a young, innovative coach, a guy that's has some experience at developing quarterbacks like a Frank Reich. Some people may not like Frank Reich, and then people turn their nose up at him, but for what you actually need from a coach, if you're trying to rebuild, he actually offers that. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm an advocate for him. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those guys that's going to continue to push for Frank Reich to be a head coach, because I feel like if you have yourself a young quarterback, a guy with some talent, he'll be able to get it out of him. Hey, State of Saints, if Gail Benson don't want to lose money the next 2 seasons, she better fire Dennis Allen real quick. I agree with that. I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with any fan saying that we need to make 1 or 2 decisions and everything is fine. No, it's way deeper than that. I think that it starts with the head coach. I do. But Yella, I'll be interested to know, what do you feel like, what are those spots that you feel like needs to change? What is the things that's grinding your gears, so to speak? What are some changes that you feel? I feel like a head coach is the start for me. Saints coaching staff is a bunch of bums. I don't even think they bums. I just think they just in over their heads. I mean, if your head coach is in over his head, think about it. I mean, look, you cut off the head, the body gonna follow, right? So if the head don't know what he's doing, what the body gonna do? You ever seen a chicken with their head cut off? You ever seen that? Cut the chicken head off and his head arm just flapping around the yard. You know what I'm saying? He don't know which way he's going. He everywhere. So if your head coach don't know what he's doing, how you expect for the offensive staff to know what they're doing? The defensive staff to know what they're doing. Special team staff know what they're doing. It's hard. Facts. And to be honest, Jameis came to learn from Sean Payton, not Pete Carmichael and Dennis Allen. That is a very good point. I'll be honest with you. I think the worst decision Jameis Winston made was not going to Indianapolis. I'm serious. I feel like that probably was the worst decision he made. Now, I understand, Frank Reich got fired, the offensive coordinator got fired, but I do feel like it probably would have been in his best interest to do that. I do, I think if Jameis Winston would have went there, I don't think Frank Reich would have got fired. Because Frank Reich has a way of developing quarterbacks who people kind of look at and I don't know about him. I mean, he had Carson Wentz playing on the MVP level. He had Nick Foles, MVP. He got the last bit of talent out of a Phillip Rivers. And, he was able to resurrect Carson Wentz's career, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks from Carson Wentz after he came off a season where he had, about 16, 17 interceptions. So say what you want about Frank Reich. The guy knows how to reel in them quarterbacks and help them see the field. Facts, and to be honest, I think I already read that. We need to be like the Eagles fans. They don't play with no coach. For real. Hey, TJ, I noticed the tattoo. What's your frat? Yeah, I pledged the Iota Phi Theta fraternity back in spring of 2007 at Jackson State. We were the last African-American fraternity. We were founded in 1963 at Morgan State University. Cold and flu and or throat issues. There's nothing that an old ancestor remedy can't fix. 1/4 cup of lemon juice, a sprinkle of little baking soda powder till it rises. Do about 2 or 3 times a day. That's coming from Elite Goods. That was a public service announcement right there. Hey, at this point, I would rather have Geno Smith at quarterback in New Orleans. Not happening because he's going to end up staying in Seattle, and he should. Definitely going to win comeback player of the year, and the man deserves a contract. Played really great this season, and I'm happy for the guy. I'm always happy for guys who they wash their hands with, and and everybody oh man, they trash. Then all of a sudden, look at him now. If I'm not mistaken, he's still leading the league in completion percentage, and even though they lost last week to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, he played very formidable. He made a couple clutch passes down the stretch. So I'm proud of that guy. Keep him where he at. If we're dependent on Loomis to fix this, I'm not optimistic. Loomis is the reason we're in this situation. He can't be trusted, so get us out. France, I agree Well, I don't say I agree, but I understand how you feel. But at the same time, I understand it's the same dude that got us showing Payton, who signed Drew Brees. Like, let's look. I get it, right? It looks like the dumbest idea in the world when it doesn't work. Like, you think about this, right? You ever went to like one of them games, one of the football games, and you see a guy got face paint on, probably like rainbow wig, and he looks ridiculous, right? But when the team winning, nobody seems to care, right? Nobody seems to care because he loud and you loud, and he looked like he's just the most exciting guy in the world. But you go to the game, you get all dressed up like a clown with the rainbow wig, and your team loses by 3 touchdowns. Then you look to your side and look at the guy like, man, you look freaking ridiculous, right? But yeah, I mean, hindsight is 20/20. You know, like the ideas that he had this season didn't work, so he looks like he's incompetent. But for every bad decision like that, you can think about some of the good decisions that he made. I mean, he was the one that got Jeff Ireland, right? Jeff Ireland came to the Saints organization. He was the one that helped these guys, get guys like Alvin Kamara, get guys like Ryan Ramczyk. Like, for every bad idea, there's some good ideas that come along. And even though, like I said, we're looking at Philly because the team stinks right now, well, that decision did get us Chris Olave. Anybody mad at that? So all I'm saying is I understand the frustration, but we also have to understand that sometimes you're going to hit, sometimes you're going to miss. You know what I mean? But I'm not ready to give up on Mickey Loomis yet. I get the frustration because his decision-making this year hasn't worked, and it's so obvious that it's not working, and it's making us extremely frustrated in the process. But I mean, he does have enough good capital built up for us to kind of like give him an opportunity to kind of get himself out of this situation versus Dennis Allen, who has absolutely no capital, right? You know what I'm saying? If Dennis Allen had capital, it'll be Baltic Avenue. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, play Monopoly. Jameis never had full support from DA or Carmichael. He needs an offensive coach who is all in on him. I agree with that, Derek. They gave him the hey, big head treatment. I'm going to continue to say they gave him the hey, big head treatment. They didn't want him in the first place. They wanted Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson didn't work out for him, so they went back and circled around, and they brought him back. But the first line of trouble, as we all saw, that they was willing to put him on the bench, sit him down somewhere. So they definitely weren't all in on him. And even if he comes back into the game, I don't think they're going to be all in on him. TJ, is it finally time to part ways with Mickey Loomis? No, I don't think so. Can we actually trust him for going forward with the new regime building, knowing the questionable hiring at coach, draft picks, and CJ Garner trade? Yes, I think that we can, because like I said, we're only looking at it. We're only looking at the bad decisions that he made. Well, I don't even want to say they bad decisions. They just didn't work out. Like it was just bad decisions that just did not work out. So I just think that all this stuff is right here. We're upset because he made these decisions and the Saints are bad and they didn't work out. So I don't think so. I do feel that he deserves to try to get himself out of this hole. Now, if you continue to go down this path, then I just feel like, yeah, it's time for you to possibly move on. Like, it's time for you to kind of exit stage left. But to be honest with you, I don't think Mickey Loomis ever leave the Saints fully. I don't. At worst. Like, this is the same dude that was working with the Pelicans. Like, they got that much confidence in this dude. At worst, they probably asked him to step down and probably change his position where he's still within the organization as one of the members of the trust. I really feel that way. But I do feel like he deserves to dig himself out of this hole. We don't keep up with age, though. We are all kind kids in our mind, body, and soul, and spirit due to having both compared to those who just have spirit. So that is a long-term answer. Don't get me wrong. Quarterback room could definitely use an upgrade as well. The running back room and getting no young example, Mark Ingram. Yeah, I think you definitely need to upgrade the running back room. I think you need to upgrade on a defensive line. Like me personally, I'm letting Marcus Davenport roll out. I even cut my losses with Payton Turner. Like, you need to get faster on the defensive line. Like, you look at some of these guys that's out here hunting right now, you got super athletic, freakish guys. They're not 6'6", 6'7". They ain't skyscrapers out here. They ain't on some Sid Vicious, Undertaker type stuff in the 80s and AWA. There's some fast guys, that just route 6'3". They're powerful. They're strong. They can bend. You know what I'm saying? They can move those offensive linemen around. They can make them confused and everything like that. It's just one of those things. It's all right. Sorry about that, folks. Had a little issue at the station here. Had to discuss something, but thank y'all for being here. I'm gonna read a few more, and then I'm gonna go ahead and going to get up out of here, man. Probably gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Have to handle some radio station business. Dennis James Allen then pulled a plug on him, TJ. Nah, station business. TJ was going in, and the man came and messed up the feed. Someone came in. You see, he waved first before he paused. Yeah. That was shouts out to the production manager. All the music we play here at WLGI. Mr. Ernie Hilton, he's the one that actually screens like all the music that we play here. So I was talking with him and we was discussing some station business. I appreciate y'all for being patient. Just definitely had to get that done. Let me see, y'all acting like Loomis hasn't done more good than bad. Let not be prisoners of the moment. We praise him for all his goodness. Let's not turn our backs on him just because he got some wrong. That's all I'm saying. Like, it just we're all upset right now. Like, you ever been so upset you say some things that you don't mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have all this built up frustration. You're angry. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I understand, justifiably so, but I don't think that it involves like just firing and letting everybody go. Now, Dennis Allen, look, I'm all on top. I'm with you on that one. Like, I mean, dude ain't it. But I don't think that you just need to get rid of everybody. I don't think you can get rid of everybody. Not the biggest Turner fan, but he is a starter to show flashes of potential. Man, I don't need no potential. I need some game breakers. I need some play makers. All I'm saying is, man, we still relying and depending on Cam Jordan after 12 years of production to be all world. Like I feel like at this particular point, if Cam Jordan was giving you 6 or 7 sacks a season, that should be okay. Like it may not be okay for him, but it'll be okay for me because I'm like, man, the dude basically just been a dog. It's almost like he should be at the point where you got the young dogs hunting, and then like it's almost like, okay, Cam Jordan makes a sack. Oh, he surpasses Ricky Jackson. It's like almost he should be basically taking victory laps at this point. But the dude can't even take victory laps because the young dogs that you had to be his successors, to be the guys that can be on the left and the right, that can hunt and let Cam kind of do his thing. Well, guess what? These guys aren't producing. So now we have to continue to look at Cam like we did back in 2015. And, you're out there. So I guess you have to be, you have to be judged based on your production. But I just think that if these guys actually panned out, we wouldn't be talking about Cam Jordan the way that we're talking about him right now. Like we have to look at Cam. Cam got to be all pro. Cam got to be all world still because these other guys aren't living up to their expectations. That's the way I look at it. Dennis Lauscher ain't getting rid of Loomis. He ain't getting rid of him. Like I said, I just feel like based on all the good capital he has built up, they will give him the option to step down and they'll give him an executive job. I think he has done enough to be a lifer in New Orleans. Like I said, it depends on if he wants to continue to be a GM somewhere else. But I think that he might, based on how they've been using him over the years, there's no way that I don't feel like he's going to be in this organization in some capacity, even if he's not the GM. Why are we so mad at Loomis? Dude been striking gold for years because the decisions he made this year ain't work out. SOTS, do you think Caden Ellis should be starting now? Yeah. I mean, he had no choice now. Pete Warner hurt. But, yeah, he's done a really good job. He's done a really good job, man. Proud of Caden Ellis, and we're going to need that production going forward because it looked like Pete Warner probably going to be out for the season. And I'm saying out for the season because, yeah, he got put on IR, but let's just be real about this, folks. Well, I don't even think he got put on IR. I don't think he got put on IR, but let's just be real about this. The Saints ain't been very transparent with injuries. Like Marshawn Lattimore is still out. He ain't playing this week. So, I mean, I don't see Pete Warner coming back. Pete Warner might be out for the entire year. But the good thing about it is you might be seeing Trevor Penning pretty soon. Yeah, Jordan is old, bro. Their talent, just like you said, as you get older, your talent in basketball or any sport slows down. I mean, Cam Jordan's still out there getting sacks. So, like I said, Mickey Loomis, good outweighs his bad any day. Facts. Hell, with potential, you get drafted on potential and you get paid on production. No excuses. Maybe Loomis thought DA learned something from Sean Payton. What can a GM learn from a head coach? Like, I mean, unless he's trying to go into the coaching game. Look, I just think that, Mickey Loomis ain't going nowhere. He not, man. I'm telling you, they're not firing Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis will step down. Like the report that you will hear is Mickey Loomis stepped down after, 20 years of being with the Saints, being Saints general manager. He will have a new role. Kind of the same thing with Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael was going to be like a consultant, on the coaching staff. He wasn't going to be a coordinator, but they was going to keep him. I'm done with Davenport bringing pressure and not bursting pipes. Turner is no better than a rotational undrafted free agent at this point. The crazy thing about it is, like, if Davenport goes somewhere else, he probably would be much better. And we'll probably just be mad, just like how we all watch and see they Gardner-Johnson and with Philadelphia. But shouts out to Maddie, man. She made a good point. It's talking about, she was like, I'm not concerned about the interceptions, so it's not a big deal. It's based on scheme. So maybe the Saints were playing him all wrong all along. And maybe he had them 6 interceptions in him the whole time. I see what you're saying. Cam should be that straight hand guy. Yep. That's my good point. That's my point. Like when Justin Tuck and Matthias Kiwanuka, when those guys was like with the Giants, and you had Snacks out there, you know what I'm saying? Like you had Spice Adams and all them other dudes out there. Like that's the way it should have been. That's the way it's supposed to be. Like, you had Michael Strahan like breaking records and being that legend. Same way with Baltimore. You had Terrell Suggs, you had Mosley, like you had guys like that, you know what I'm saying? And then you had Ray Lewis. That's the way it's supposed to be. That is a third down guy, or even other first and second, where Turner and Davenport should be eating. We knew Cam lost a step in productivity, but that's the whole reason we drafted Davenport and Payton Turner, but neither has worked out, so the spotlight is looking pretty bright on him. Exactly. And that's to me, I feel like that's just unfair. Like, I'm not going to evaluate Cam Jordan like how he was with a low haircut coming out of Cal. I'm just not. When Cam is out there, he's still productive. Like, Cam had a pass defended. Like, this man out here making pass deflections. I mean, so he playing hard. I got a lot of respect for this dude. That's one of the main reasons, I have this stance. Like, I feel bad for Cam Jordan. Like, I don't want to see this dude like not reach a Super Bowl. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see this dude not make a Super Bowl. At least he needs to step on a Super Bowl field, even if it's not with the Saints. Like, I would want to see Cam Jordan go somewhere else, to see that man like get an opportunity to get a championship. Because, I mean, he is a Hall of Famer. Like, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, based on his career, his accolades, he's going to the Hall of Fame. But he deserves to play in a Super Bowl for a chance at a championship. And if the Saints aren't going to do what they need to do to help this man get there, then let him go somewhere else. TJ, be real. What has Pete proven? Pete who? Who we talking about? Pete Warner? Andres Pete? Who we talking about here? Who we talking about? Pete who? I know we ain't talking about Pete Warner. We can't be talking about Pete Warner. The Saints are about as transparent as foil paper. That's sad, but completely true. Loomis not going nowhere, but he should take a different role in the organization. I think it's just too early to tell about that. I do. I don't like this man been a GM for the Saints almost 20 years, if not 20 years. And he has done more positive things for this organization than he has done bad. And we just looking at it for 1 year. Now all of a sudden we need to throw this man away. Like, this man was the one that hired Sean Payton. He was the one that got Drew Brees, you know what I'm saying, that signed Drew Brees. He was the one that, you know what I'm saying, was instrumental at drafting Tracy Porter, who caught the interception. He was the one that got Darren Sharp assigned, who had 9 interceptions in that Super Bowl year. He was the one that made the trade for Jonathan Velma to come to New Orleans to be a mainstay. He was that guy. He was the guy that, you know what I'm saying, that was instrumental in the scouting report to bring a guy from Arkansas Pine Bluff and Teron Armstead, who ended up being all-pro. He was the one that drafted, you know what I'm saying, was instrumental in drafting Cam Jordan and Mark Ingram. So all these things, all these bad things that we're talking about with him, like, for all the bad things that you're talking about, there were some good things that he did as well. You know, bringing in Darren Sproles. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, we can't, like, just allow, like, 1 year in CJ Gardner Johnson to just completely, like, just cloud our judgment about all the good things that this dude has brought to this organization. Now, like I said, if it continues to be the way that it has been, with bad decision making and, you know, and all that kind of stuff and bad coaches, then yes, I do think that you need to keep it moving. But the dude has built up enough good capital for me to be okay with him being a GM going forward. Like, let's see, P. Carmichael. Oh yeah, P. Carmichael. Nah, look, my stance and my take on P. Carmichael being on juicy fruit duty for all those years is completely justified. Like, completely justified. You know, I used to make this joke here for those that are probably new to the podcast. You know, I said that Pete Carmichael was on juicy fruit duty. Like, when Sean Payton needed a new stick of juicy fruit gum, he was the one that was going to fetch it and bring it back to him, because he definitely wasn't calling no plays. So, yeah, I agree. I definitely feel like if look, I definitely feel like the Saints need a new offensive coordinator. Maybe they should have just listened to Pete Carmichael in the first place when he, had to take 24 hours to think about being an offensive coordinator. Maybe they should have just been like, okay, man, let's try to go find somebody else. This year in the draft, we need to do some serious shopping, starting with defensive end, defensive tackle, running back, and wide receiver. Not too concerned about wide receiver because of Olave and Shaheed can be something in my opinion, but we need depth. Nah, Chosen, I'm going wide receiver. Look, look, as much as I like Michael Thomas, I can't trust him right now. You know what I'm saying, for his injury history. Look, you need somebody opposite of Chris Olave. Chris Olave is a good route runner, but you need somebody like on a Colston tip, like on a Michael Thomas tip, those guys that can go out there and get you that 50-50 ball. That's the type of guy that you need. You know what I'm saying? Get that Dez Bryant type dude. Let's get one of them. Like Michael Thomas, I don't feel like it's going anywhere. I think they're going to end up keeping him, but let's try to get another young guy up in here, you know what I'm saying, that can go opposite of Chris Olave and let these young dudes eat. Now, I do feel like the Saints need another wide receiver. Look, I will let Jarvis Landry walk. I'll let Callaway walk. I'll let Traquan Smith walk. Hardy is going to walk. I'll let them boys walk. And what you need to do is just bring some younger guys in. This need all these undrafted free. Look, what we need to do is we need to completely just eliminate our thought patterns, because a lot of the thoughts and the views that we have as Saint fans are Paytonisms. And what I mean by Paytonisms are the way of thinking, bringing in undrafted free agents, bringing in guys, that can probably just take the top off the defense. That's probably the one quality that he possesses. We need to eliminate that and start bringing in guys that can do a plethora of things. So when you do have injuries, when you have guys that's down, you still got a guy that can possibly step up and capable of giving you 100 yards, right? What you have is a bunch of guys on the Saints team that are good at one particular thing and at one particular skill set. And you have that one guy that's probably better. He probably can do a plethora of things. So you probably got one guy like Olave that can take the top off the defense, that can run a shallow cross, that can run the out routes, that can run the post routes, that can run the quick slants. And then you might have another wide receiver. He probably good at running a quick slant, or he good at the streak route. You need to completely eliminate that. All that to me is Paytonisms. You need to be able to have wide receivers that can do more than one particular thing. And I think that has been something that has got the Saints in the situation that they're in right now. The whole Paytonisms are dead because Sean Payton isn't here. Sean Payton probably can scheme a guy, like a Traquan Smith, okay, you're going to have you run this little wide receiver screen, or we're going to have you run this little 10 and in. But let's get some guys up in here that can make some plays, man. I want to see Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, both of those guys can go for 100. Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp, both of those guys can go for 100. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, both of those guys are capable of going for 100. That's what you need. You need to stop messing around with these guys that are only good at one thing. Let's get some more wide receivers up in here that can be some dogs that can do more than just that. And on the defensive line, I just think that you need to get faster. There's a story. Okay, so I'm pretty sure y'all remember the college football playoffs, and there was I think it was the Sugar Bowl. It was Oklahoma taking on Alabama, and Oklahoma wiped the floor with Alabama in that Sugar Bowl, and it was because Alabama had these big old burly offensive linemen, right? These guys were big old huge guys, 6'6", 320, 330, 340. But guess what? He couldn't move. And then they lined up against these defensive linemen in Oklahoma, and they were hybrids, right? They were speed rushers. And these big old burly guys couldn't handle them. So every time the quarterback would go back to pass, they was getting sacked. Quarterback was getting sacked on the ground because there was nothing that these offensive line can do with them. The next year, what did he do? What did Nick Saban do? Nick Saban started to recruit those same type of defensive linemen on his line. And the next year they won a national championship. So you have to learn from the mistakes. Like all these 6'6", 6'7" guys, those are Sean Payton type guys. Sean Payton even said it, you know, when these guys be doing those bench pressing and stuff like that, they be bench pressing 30 and 40 times. He said it's because they got short arms, right? So he's looking for those guys with the long wingspan. But guess what, man? That's passe. Like, you don't really see too many 6'6", 6'7" guys out here getting 12, 13 sacks a year. You don't see that. Hey, TJ, quick question. LSU versus Georgia. Look, it's going to take a look. I don't know, man. Georgia, when they motivated, they hard to stop, bro. They hard to stop when they motivated. So that would be a huge upset if LSU beats Georgia. I don't see that happening. Did Callaway play this weekend along with Smith? Nope, they did not. I'm definitely of the mind to build the trenches on both sides, not reach and set up our new number one quarterback to succeed. Yeah. Brandon, that's a good point. I'm looking at offensive line and defensive line. Like, I'm getting rid of Andrews Pete. You know, I think that you're pretty good. You know, Cesar Ruiz, like, man, I got to get a man his props. I'm going to continue to give his props because we was laughing and making all these jokes about this dude when he wasn't doing stuff. Like, Cesar Ruiz, I apologize. Like, this dude has been incredible, right? You still got Ryan Ramczyk, leader, you know what I'm saying, on the right side. Eric McCoy coming into his own. The left side is the issue. Like, Trevor Penning, I feel like he gonna pan out. He a dog. Like, we know we ain't gonna have no problems with Trevor Penning not, you know, playing with heart. We know that ain't gonna happen. Andrews Pete need to take his soft behind on somewhere and need to find somebody else that's a dog that can go alongside Trevor Penning. So I'm looking at the guard position. I'm looking at the running back position. I'm looking at the quarterback position, and I'm looking at wide receivers. You know, the Saints need, like, for real, the Saints need to scrape and, like, they need to just get rid of that defensive line. Like, I just feel like it. Like, even, like, this may sound controversial, but even Yamato, I'll let him walk. You need to get more speed on the defensive line. You need to get bigger on the defensive line, and you need to get faster on the defensive line. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking at the safety position. I'm looking at the safety position too. But I'm telling you, like, you need another Cam Jordan. Like, you need a guy that's capable of giving you close to double-digit sacks every single year, and that can give you or close to giving you double-digit sacks every year. Like, I'm saying, and honestly, Josh, I see you say quarterback, edge, defensive tackle. Look, if you're not in love, like, let's just say, for example, the draft stays the way that it is. Don't just draft a quarterback because you feel like you need a quarterback. If there's an edge rusher in the second round that you can get your hands on, and depends on, like, how you picking and the way it's going, it's going to be an early second round pick. Get yourself a pass rusher. Why is Deontay Hardy and Tano Pasio and Adam Troutman still on this team? Because they got to make it work. They signed these guys, so you might as well get them to work. To be honest with you, I don't even know if Adam Troutman just don't work, or it's just the way that the Saints, they get him. But I really feel like this. Like, I don't have an issue with Adam Troutman. I don't have an issue with Adam Troutman. See, I think the biggest issue we have with Adam Troutman is expectation. He comes in from Davidson, right? You know what I'm saying? Well, Dayton. He comes in from Dayton, and he's a pass-catching tight end. So we just automatically just thought, man, we got ourselves a Dallas Goedert, or we got ourselves a Zach Ertz, or we got ourselves a George Kittle type guy. We got ourselves a Gronk. I even said it. Like, you know what I'm saying? His blocker to be like, he has the capability of being a Gronkowski. I even said that. And I feel like our expectations of what he was supposed to be, it didn't pan out. So all of a sudden, like, we just kind of want to throw the dude away. But I say this all the time. Like, you had a Jimmy Graham, right? You had a Benjamin Watson, right? you had a Jeremy Shockey, but you also had a David Thomas, right? And you also had yourself a Josh Hill. Josh Hill wasn't, like a lights out tight end, but we loved Josh Hill, right? Goal line situations, where he at? Like certain passes down the seam, he was there. Like, just because he is more of a Josh Hill, and not more Jimmy Graham or not more Benjamin Watson don't mean that he's a bad tight end. So I just think that the expectation that we have for Adam Troutman is the reason why we're just frustrated with him as a player. But if you end up being a Josh Hill type tight end, guess what? I'm still happy with that, because Josh Hill was really good in run blocking. He was really good in goal line situations. So I'm not mad at that. And the way Juwan Johnson is coming on, like, man, don't make you upset about that. Yeah, expectations, just when you expect him to catch the ball, he drops it. He had one pass last week, I think it was an 8-yard pass. And he ain't really getting too many targets. Troutman played for Dayton, fam. I think I mentioned it. I said Davidson at first, and then I corrected by saying Dayton. But you're right. He played at Dayton. TJ, did you hear anything about the Saints signing Cam Newton? No, that was a joke online. I seen that too. One thing I didn't notice, even historically, those players all think they deserve to go in the first round. So anybody that doesn't have a chip on their shoulder and is wanting to go and play, yeah, everybody got a chip on their shoulder. Everybody does. Troutman hasn't been that bad, not like last year. I just think the way that they're using him, he's not that bad. I just think that people are looking for him to catch passes. But if you look at some of the Saints' best run performances, go look at Adam Troutman and somebody tell me if you want this dude off the team. We need healthy players with a mindset of can't nobody stop me that's in front of me, rather that be a veteran or two or all rookies. That's my state, needs to be a staple. Yeah, but that all starts yellow with the coach. The coach sets the tone, right? If you have yourself a no-nonsense coach that helps people understand the assignment, then I think these players, they'll follow suit. But if coach, my arm hurting today, oh man, go ahead, man, sit there. It's okay, man. We'll need you can practice tomorrow. Coach, man, my leg hurt right here. It's a little, so I'll be okay tomorrow. No, all right. Man, coach, that ain't working today. That pass play ain't working today. We just ain't got it today. Okay, let's do something else. When you got all that going on, like, you ain't got no coach. Seriously. You need a coach that's going to demand respect, that's going to run that play until it works, that's going to continue to, like, be on guys for being where they need to be and doing what they need to do. And if you don't have that, I don't care who's on your team. I don't care how great your team is. I don't care what the capabilities of that team is. If you don't have the right leader, your team isn't going anywhere. You're like a car in a garage. You ain't going nowhere. You need leadership. I don't care what it is. Like, I don't care how great your team is. If you don't have the right coach, you ain't going nowhere. Oh, believe me, TJ, I 100% agree with you. My first thing I want going coaches is it can't get no simpler than that. That everything else will fall into place like it always does. Exactly. When you have a good coach, you're gonna coach the heck out of that player and you're gonna get the best out of him. But you can't coach a player to leave something left behind. If a player, it don't feel like he left it all on the field, it's probably because the coach didn't make him feel like he had to. I told y'all earlier this season we should have traded Michael Thomas. Jordan, look, my brother, you can't trade Michael Thomas because of the contract. That would have been ridiculous. The Saints would have took like a $20-some-odd million cap hit, and no team is going to pick up that contract with that type of verbiage in it. And Jarvis Landry, the moment we seen what Olave was, but everyone called me crazy. Not Jordan, they probably didn't call you crazy because, the way that Michael Thomas was playing, you feel like you need to be traded. It's just the fact that everybody knew his contract. So by knowing that you was going to take a significant cap hit, it just wouldn't been, it's just not a good decision to make. Like, I understand your frustrations and looking at Chris Olave and what he's doing, I understand that, but you can't trade Michael Thomas. That's not a good decision monetarily. Our coach and GM needs to be more proactive. In that case, it's nothing much they can do on that, man. TJ, did you see Brian Daboll jump in the Lions' face Sunday when they blew an assignment? Yeah, I seen it. And that's what you need. Has anyone in here ever seen DA yelling at an official or a player? I haven't seen that one of the main jobs of a head coach. Yeah. I mean, he a little bit too passive for me. We need coaches that won't lie to the players, and we need a medical staff that actually fixes them. I should have asked Maddie that, but I mean, I didn't want to hold it too long because of her voice, but I did want to ask about did I feel like there was a disconnect between the players and the medical staff? I think that you look at Michael Thomas and some of the things that happened between the coaching, not the coaching staff, the medical staff and him. And also you can go back a little bit further with Dalvin Bro. Maybe guys are making business decisions because they feel like they can't really truly trust the Saints medical staff like that, because they feel like the Saints medical staff is going to do what's in the best interest of the team versus being in the best interest of the player. Has Dennis Allen even challenged a play this season? Yeah, I think he challenged the play. I think it was a fumble versus Michael Thomas. Like, I want to know, like, how many times did in the middle of a game, like when you have some momentum in the flow of the game, how many times did Dennis Allen actually go for it on fourth down? That's what I would like to know. Like, not going for it on fourth down when everybody and their mama know you about to go on fourth down. It's the fourth quarter and your team down by 6 points and you got to go for it. It's about 3 minutes left. And, like, not like that, but like how Sean Payton normally would do it. Like, it'd be like first quarter. Okay, you're on the other side of 50. It's 4th and 1. We going to go for it. If you go on the other side of 50, it's 4th and 1. And let's just say you go for it on third down, you don't get it. Guess what? I know for a fact. Here come, it depends on where the ball at. Here come the punt unit or here come the field goal unit. No cojones, no huevos, none at all. Like, just conservative. Captain Conservative is what he is, right? That's what he is. But that's what I'm saying, man. You need somebody that's going to get the team fired up. Like, let's go for it on fourth down, man. That gets you fired up because that means that the coach is trusting in you to be able to convert. I mean, too conservative, man. Too conservative. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Also, you can check out the State of the Saints podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is